I don't know very much about the situation in Niger. Um, Prefer not to comment very much, but it took place on an area that concerns me a little bit, which is the um, dialogue with Russia. And it follows a fairly charming middle path of a coup of sorts being sold as to balance the evil idiocy of NATO's attacks in Libya and Syria and so on. It bears a resemblance to what happened in Ukraine, only in that a democratically elected figure was ousted. Um, it's interesting on one level that the African government is trying to do something to protect itself from manipulation, but reaction against democracy is strange. In both Niger and Ukraine, the reaction against democracy is strange. I propose to reconcile my views with what I know of the situation in Niger, saying they want some gold and uranium to France and stuff. What I know about black intellectuals, what I know about how these things are going to be read in the United States of America. First of all, I have no confidence. I'm not particularly concerned about the future due to Russia's alliance with Niger, if that's what that is. Because it reminds me of Woodstock, people getting all excited and going to the jumping hole, and then finding out when it's all over that none of the ideologies that they profess serves them, that it's still the same old stupid world they were stuck with. I'm all in favor of um, you know, the idea that we should be bargaining in good faith with everybody. I'll go into what that means a little bit, but not right this second. Um, One of the things that I see in black society is that false assumptions lead to snap judgments. I'm a deaf person, and I've been accused of ignoring a client, which is terribly untrue. But the person was convinced because the false assumptions are fed into by the political correctness. And Joe Biden would say it's not a matter of objective reality. The truth is what he believed, because the white man has a history of ignoring. Well, I'm deaf. I wasn't even aware that he was deaf. Okay, so it's a false assumption that leads to a justification of judgment. And this goes on in the black community. That's not the only time it's ever happened. Person misunderstood that you see, I have Parkinson's and I have, sometimes I laugh at strange things. You can't explain. It's called a cultural relativism. What is polite in one society is viewed as impolite in another society, and unless people get that through their heads that they may not understand what's being communicated, the the odds are likely that they would try to homogenize a person to understand what they believe, even if it's not true. Like a bus driver waved me to get on the bus this morning, and I insisted on paying because if I had misunderstood him, he was exasperated when I walked up to the front of the bus because there was a crowd getting off. So he waved me to get on the back and was going to just let it slide. He didn't want to be tied down waiting for me to come up to the front. Oh, it was just a beeper pass anyway. I'd already paid. But I had misunderstood it and he shouted at me, I'm deaf, never mind. I mean, it goes on all the time. It's a constant grind. False assumptions lead to snap judgments. So, um, they get this moralism place. Like, for example, if you can manufacture a false assumption, you've got a bandwagon. That's what the Green Party pulled with the Russian seduction job they pulled in Pittsburgh. Now, I'd like to explain a little bit about that, but the point I want to make first is that the moralists are tapping your phones. As G. Gordon Liddy said in defense of Watergate, all people go through each other's drawers all the time. There's an old line, gentlemen don't read other gentlemen's mail. Well, they sure do. And whatever hear of the Postal Union? The moralists are tapping your phones. G. Gordon Liddy and the Green Party are tapping your phones. Or the G. Gordon Liddy's of the Black Panthers or something. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what's the objective in all of this? Hootenanny. Well, the objective is to make it entertainment. They had Elvis used to do analysis of musical studies by people who were over the hill and no longer had their sexual flair. And it was interesting to them, and it wasn't interesting to him. There's a story, the commercial for Starkist tuna. Sorry, Charlie, we don't want tunas with good taste. We want tunas that taste good. And this is what is playing out as part of the guidance division of the steering committee in the artificial intelligence arrangements that are coming. The most straightforward film about the oligarchy is The Wizard of Oz. It stands the test of time when you look at the magical dictator. Of course, The Wizard of Oz wasn't himself personally manning. He was manning the Louvre, the satanic banshee behind the curtain, and stuff. So I mean, that stands the test of time. But when you look at what Edelman is trying to pull with the Green Party, they're constructing neuroplasm. And there was a double edge to the Greg Carl's claims that I was going to perform for them. See, a child who's still forming and then inflicted with a neuroplasm is still forming even more. And there were only so many role models. I mean, Bruno Sammartino was on the television. He was probably the one who got wind that my father, a humanist, had abandoned a sweetheart little boy. And anyway, the Italian community organized with Neva Corporation and the Israelis with a British ringleader somewhere up there by Edward Osden's house. And they impinged on the persona's experience. My role models were Father Knows Best on TV, Leave It to Beaver, Love, American Style, ha ha. Some things like the Cosby Kids, that guy would go, Dynamite. I used to watch him, and I even used to say that. People would laugh at me. But I liked it a lot. So, what's going on is this idea that, well, we're being inducted into choosing sides in artillery barrages of a hot war in a very convenient area of the world where ideologically it's not decided that if a fight happens there, it brings the superpowers to blows with each other. So it's convenient. Now, let me tell you what that situation there was like. It was like a mean-spirited small claims environment in the neighborhood. You sold me a leaf blower that broke down. You knew it was going to. No, I didn't, but I've spent the money from the food for the kids. And this is the sort of situation, like people were getting gypped out of property and having to buy the same property twice because the deed got squabbled about in the courthouse. So not just corruption, incompetence, newness to the ideas. And Russia was overly enthusiastic about creating a billionaire class de facto by buying up repossession, reprivatization certificates that were being distributed to the public and so on. So they construct an induction dilemma as a diversion from the AI Wizard of Oz that they all have uh, greedily licky chops about. And what drives this is the two virgins pussy bowl again, because Carell of the Russian Orthodox Church says, no matter what you do, if you have sex out of wedlock, you depreciate the mode of the tree of life for the love of the betrothed to whom the woman truly presents her idiom. And Vanessa Nakate talks about the double standard that women have have to face. The husband, her charms wear off, the husband abandons her for a new bride. Happens all the time, she says. And getting a handle on that, you have Spike Oldie, yes, Spike Oldie. Preaching the gospel, Columbia, Spike Oldie. She's got to have it. So the double standard is on the man. Smack his quadrophenia, hang around, go out with the bigger and the bolder and the brighter, dump him, man, cheat on him. She's got to have it. So invert the double standard. And, no matter how many times you play out the excitement of a coup d'etat, it's just a 3-day rock festival in the woods. It's still the same old world all over again. And what you have to do is educate people to things that matter. Bob Metzer Foley used to talk about the assumption that standards of living would be reduced if you cut certain material industries that are associated with the the truly rich and replace them with educated understanding and appreciation, deep knowledge about the environment and society. And I think I agree with him about that. So, um, what I think, is what you have to see is that in my research, Brian Eno was sort of on the cutting edge of Michael Foucault. When you look at a gang of gangsters like UW Dialectical, and they're cheering Rusted Root, Noam Chomsky, you're talking about people who see their rivals as items to contradict in order to stimulate the excitement and entertain the girls who are new to things. And if you can't do that, then you're out, and it plays into the Elvis, Hollywood, Clint Eastwood, Ronald Reagan crowd. And, when Noam Chomsky jeered me about Mount Desert Island and my broken heart over Leslie Katz, he was working with Ronald Reagan. It was a Hitler head rush for this kid, Noam Chomsky, which is for some reason he just really got off on it. Rusted Root did too. And so you have this situation of people who are indulging fat, hot air, hot airheads, who just, and in that way, it's not surprising that Noam Chomsky ended up praising Trump. Well, the way I see it is it's always the same old world. I got kicked in the teeth about wanting to have a girlfriend who's loyal to me at a time when the generation that was saying you have to learn to let go was being attacked by the AIDS virus. So it was increasingly unsafe to let go because letting go meant somehow you had to find someone else. And they were all 6 feet apart or 6 feet under with COVID, and we're not supposed to notice this. So they're playing head games with Jimmy Quirball. They're saying he's constructing a persona of himself. He's constructing a persona of himself. He wants the girls to like him, but we have artificial intelligence watching him, and he's divided. He's still a quadriphrenic. He still looks at the blank slank and the baronet of Dugin and the apparatchik of the status quo in the ecology movement. Well, these girls are wonderful girls. I can't have anything to do with any of them. They're wonderful, wonderful girls. And you have Spike Oldley. Spike Oldley, he's sniveling, making false assumptions to be act judgmentally. And the whole thing comes down to this rotten alliance between them, Chomsky and Ronald Reagan. It's like, get it out of here. I can appreciate the discovery of the excitement of Woodstock in Niger or Maidan or something like that. But even when it's over, it's still the same old world. We have to figure out a way to learn to live together. So we should just knock it off and do our level best to deal in good faith. That's something the United States really does not set a night of shining poetry about. We need to deal with each other our level best in good faith, our level best, and appreciate it when other people do, because the Russians do it quite, 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 quite a decent job of it a lot of the time. They really do. They can be very honest, straightforward, and professional. I don't know about this New World Order stuff with the Pink Floyd spiders from Mars, artificial intelligence coming down the highway. I don't know about that. But we got a lot of things to calm down about, don't we? Global warming and that, don't we? You know, I think you're behaving like children.